Hi, and welcome to Bloke on a Range. Now, today we have a very special guest that is doing a Mad Minute, which is very close to all you people across the pond. So I have here Oliver Kunz, which is a very Swiss name, by the way.
Yeah, it is Swiss, actually.
Yeah, I know many Kunz around here. So what have you done for us?
So I've got an 1873 Trapdoor Springfield. It's got the Buffington rear sight on it, which was a little confusing for me when I first picked it up, but we just tried to do the Mad Minute, and I tried to shoot as many as I could. I think I got to 10, if I remember correctly. So
all right. Well, let's just run the vid,
sure,
and then we'll have a chat about it.
Yeah.
3, 2, 1, shoot.
Okay, yeah, I counted 10. That is pretty impressive. I mean, I was expecting, from what I've heard from people who had a go. I sadly have never tried a trapdoor, but I was expecting it to be on par with the rest, certainly.
yeah, you feel like you're flying. I mean, by like shot 7, I'm like, man, this has to be at least 15. I mean, I'm cooking on this.
Yeah.
And you running through it, you're not really concerned about time, and it feels like you're moving a lot faster than what is actually happening, because it's taking several seconds for you to open the action, for you to pull the hammer back. And some past videos I had watched on the channel, the external hammer on a lot of these old guns really slows down and puts a lot of hindrance on the ability to shoot fast. And so I took actually some advice from Rob with the Snyder video. He went to full cock on his hammer on the Snyder to just skip the step of going to half cock.
So I noticed, like, I could hear it going click click when you pulled back. So.
Yep, yeah.
Yeah.
So it eliminated that whole step, and actually it went very smooth. Actually, I was quite surprised that running to full cock didn't, as long as your finger's not on the trigger and you're not doing anything you shouldn't be, it's not really inherently unsafe, so.
No, and it's pretty much guaranteed that back in the day they would have done that as well.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Unless you were following a drill instruction or something, you try that hammer back.
Yeah, I'm sure they found probably unconventional ways to speed up their firing that maybe their superiors did not maybe know about.
or just turned a blind eye to. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. And was that a full military load, let's say?
No. So for the data junkies out there, this was kind of a mixed match of some old test loads that I had created back when I first got the reloading supplies for the 4570. Initially, the 4570, it was a 45 caliber over 70 grains of roughly 2 to 1F black powder. And I think the original load was for the 405 grain bullet, and or maybe the 500. I can't quite remember for the 1873. But I was using a mixed match of about 45 grains with some cornmeal and a fiber wad with a 405, and a couple of them were 60 grains with a flyby card wad underneath the bullet. So it was kind of a mix.
Okay.
So
it looked fairly mild to shoot.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm pretty sure it's reasonably heavy though, isn't it? The rifle.
It's heavier than most. It's heavier than the Shaspo.
Yeah.
I have a Snyder and a Shaspo and the Trapdoor, and comparably, it's probably heavier than all the other two.
Yeah. Yeah. And otherwise the extraction, that's unfortunate. There's just not quite a clear view. I'd have liked to see that extraction, but seems to be. Does it throw them far, or is it just to dump them out?
It throws them significantly farther than you'd expect. And actually, if you can control it. So, for example, when you open the breech, this little leg kicks it out on the rim, and it actually flies up and back. And if you're smooth with it and slow, it will actually kick up, and you can kind of open the action and catch them. And it kind of just happens right here. So, but when I was, flying the action open, they were flying quite significantly behind me. So, yeah,
I'm looking. I may be able to do the Swiss Milbank arms there. I may have access finally to a centerfire block because that is probably the closest of the European trapdoors. It locking latch is slightly different, but it has the same idea of a kicking extractor. With the rimfire one I have, it does kick out. So it'll be interesting to see if I get it running with a centerfire block to see how it compares.
Yeah, I really like those Swiss Milbank Amslers. Really interesting because they converted those from the old Feldstützer 1851s, right?
They converted basically all the service rifles. So the Feldstützers, the infantry rifles, and they finally got their 10.4s, and then they decided, what the hell, we'll convert the old muskets, rifled muskets that are still kicking around. So, so you get all sorts of configurations.
Yeah. Now on the Milbank Amsler, which I don't know if it's the case per se, but on the American Trapdoor, when you open the breech block, does the breech stay open if you were to tilt the rifle back?
No, that is it is there's no spring biasing or anything. So if you tilt the rifle up, everything will just fall back down.
Okay, yeah, that's exactly how the American Trapdoor works. When I had first got it, I was expecting it to stay forward, and so a lot of the time I'd load it and kind of bring it up. I'm used to loading my 1777 Pedersoli, so you kind of come up to a 45 and you charge the Frizen. And with this, I was bringing it up, and the breech block just falls back. I can't. You're fumbling with it, and so.
Yeah, there's at least a spring catch on the trapdoor which stops it from closing completely.
Yeah.
Whereas the Milbank will just. It's got that funny double articulation in the breech block, effectively, so it just folds itself shut completely. So you have to do it all again. The Wenzel, however, does bias forward. It's got a cam on the side. Unfortunately, that one doesn't extract. So it extracts but doesn't eject.
Mm-hmm. I had a question about extraction because I think it was on the video with you and Rob discussing the Gra and the 1871 Mauser. I think you were saying the Mauser did not have an ejector, so you had to kind of coax the shell out of the breech. When did I guess the ejection theory start to be actually being applied regularly? Was it later than the Gra or?
The thing is, as we discovered with the guys from Spam that did the Mauser 71 Mad Minute, it wasn't actually that much of it was far less of a hindrance. Well, in fact, it wasn't at all really to operation because when you're reaching for your cartridge, which you're going to have to do because it's single shot, it's actually the ejection window is quite shallow, so it just sort of rolls out naturally, just with a slight flick of the wrist.
Okay.
So, I was expecting it to be like on the Snyder or be a real pain, but it's not. But when I think it was a very narrow window because most of the bolt actions went straight to repeaters pretty much.
Yes.
There's a single shot phase. All the ones that are not bolt action have some kind of extractor or ejector.
Okay.
Because either you have direct access to the back of the cartridge, you can pull it out, rolling blocks, or you've got some kind of kicker extractor.
Right.
But in terms of bolt actions, it happened relatively quickly to transition to repeater, and then either it was you have an extractor or you have relying on the next cartridge to kick out the brass, the spent one.
Yeah.
So it's, I don't know. It was just odd to me that they didn't think of it in the Mauser. But again, it seemed it wasn't really necessary.
Yeah. I can't really imagine trying to run the trapdoor without the extractor. I think that would be a really painful experience. Even with the way the mechanism works, and I found out really quickly with just regular loading for target shooting with it, that if I didn't put the shell all the way forward, your breech block, when you're bringing it down, it would actually catch on the rim.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't push the bullet in, but it would just stop. And so, you have to go all the way forward. And if you didn't have an extractor, you open the breech block and then have to really dig pretty far in there to pull the shell out. So, which I think actually they had used copper cases before brass, and they did get stuck in there, and they even did have the extractor. So I can't imagine how that would feel in combat.
Yeah. So. Well, when I got my GRA, I actually got it, imported it from the US. It still had a case neck in the breech.
Wow.
Luckily it was, well, I guess it must have been flushed and cleaned and just put away, because it didn't, luckily it hadn't damaged, corroded behind it.
Yeah. Did you keep that as a like a souvenir?
No, it was just a thin, well, by then really thin, just ring. But I had to do a chamber cast to get it out.
Wow.
I tried brushes, everything, there's nothing, but that was cool.
Yeah, that is cool.
Well, since we're here, if you got any other questions, then fire away.
Not initially that I can think of. I mean, other than maybe, you might do the Milbank Amsler. Are there any other firearms you're kind of looking at to get into the action?
For the moment, I think in terms of breech loaders, I've actually run out things I can try. Single shot. There's not much around that I can get my hands on easily. To be honest, probably the one I would like to do, which I might eventually get my hands on, would be a rolling block. That's another one that people have been asking for. I would like to try and get one of the Egyptian ones, so-called Egyptian ones that France acquired, so that it fits. But I also think I may do, once I've got my cartridges perfected, would try to do one with just a percussion rifle. Yeah. So just as a comparison, because I've done the Vetterli as a sort of top tier comparison. That would have been, that was around at the same time, so it's sort of fair just to show. Maybe again just to show then the step up. Using the top loading techniques of the time with the paper cartridge, just shoving it down Minier. It's still faster than Flintlock or loading loose with powder, and then the Minier, like the American style cartridge. Just as a comparison, I think that would be nice to see as well. Yeah, absolutely. Have you had anybody put in any Flintlock videos or? No, there's someone that said I should do it, following on from the Cabin Fever. Cabin Fever, I should do a Mad Minute with it. I mean, it's going to be 3, maybe 4 maximum. Right. It's those. I mean, I did ages ago. I did the Swedish musket. There, I wasn't doing a Mad Minute. I was just seeing. I just used all the cartridges. I could cut a segment out, but. But there, you really are restricted. There's nothing, especially if you're if you're shooting a rifle, you can use the patch ball, which is going to take time.
Right.
Or you could do the cartridge, just speeding things up again. I mean, Rob has done that extensive comparison with his Baker, doing all the variances, all the types of cartridge. So there he shows exactly what's going on.
Yeah, it was interesting to see how I think it was in the video again with Rob, how I think it was with the Gras, I think it was the Belgian, is the Comblain, the falling block.
Yeah.
And I think, was it you got 11 or 12 shots with that one? Or was it?
I think it was, I can't remember. I think it was 11.
Yeah, 11.
Yeah.
But most of these like breech loaders and even early single shot bolt actions were kind of hanging around this like 9 to 10 round general shot amount. And it was interesting with the trapdoor. I tried looking it up on Wikipedia and other things, like what was the standard for, in a minute. And it was roughly 8 to 10. So I was feeling good that I was on the high side, but knowing that I could have possibly gotten that 11th one off, I think I want to do it again and give it a try. But even with the Snyder or with muzzle loaders, certain arms will have their limitations, and you can only ram a round down the barrel so fast. You can only prime the frizzen so fast. You can only with the Snyder, you can only roll the gun over so fast. And
absolutely, it does accumulate, and you just reach your maximum. And I think it's pretty much there. It's sort of, let's say 10 to 12 for single shots. It's just the time you need to do everything. That's just what it is. But again, it's apart from the Swiss exercise I found by accident, which I told with Rob, but that was with a repeater. I don't know how far they were trained to explicitly do that.
Right.
Don't know. You said you looked it up for the trapdoor. So does that mean there was some exercise?
I guess there must have been. I don't know in terms of like manual description, because I know you have like a manual of arms for most of the loading processes of some of the arms, but I didn't find anything that was like here is how you do it. But it was kind of more or less like expected rate of fire was 8 to 10 minutes, and then in parentheses user dependent. So it's I would assume that maybe they had some drill that they tried back then and timed it, and they had some really fast guys and they had some really slow guys, and they just kind of grouped it together. So I can imagine that the stress of combat would probably slow you down rather than speed you up, or maybe inhibit your accuracy a little bit. I would bet. So
I would expect sometimes going off, not quite on the shoulder. Happened quite a lot.
Yeah. So, and that was something I tried not to do. I tried to make sure you come up to the shoulder and at least you're looking down the sight at the target before the trigger goes off, because you probably could get 12 shots off if you're hip firing and not trying to hit anything, if you're just trying to shoot as fast as possible. So
absolutely. I think there's a video somewhere of a reenactor with a brown Bess doing a speed loading competition.
Yes.
I can't remember how many he does, but again, he's just basically shooting from the hip.
Yes. Yeah. I think I remember seeing that, and I was like, okay. I mean, maybe we'll give it to you because you at least completed the process, right? So I don't know.
I was always afraid he was going to shoot his ramrod.
No. I think actually I have a buddy from the Czech Republic who does reenacting for the Austrian regiments out there for like Austerlitz and stuff, and he said that they don't use the ramrod at all anymore. They tear the cartridge, they pour the powder, and then they just drop it down the bore. Because I guess they've had accidents where the ramrod's been sent across the field. So.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah.
Yeah. So. Yeah.
Now you did mention that you had the target.
Yes.
Just have a quick look.
So,
I mean, it's not the point of the exercise, but
right.
maybe
So
people can see.
I will try to. So now there are some 30 caliber holes in here because my buddy who did the recording was shooting his Mosin at this. So I'll try to explain. So I know for a fact this one, this one, this one, and this one up here are not from the Mad Minute. That was some previous shooting we had done with some smokeless charges that I'd created, low pressure for the trapdoor.
Yeah.
This one, actually, I don't know what it's from, but I don't know what iteration, but it did. I found the ricochet. So here's the bullet.
Oh,
it actually hit the ground and just stuck in the paper. So, but then I'm quite certain this one and maybe these 3 are from the Mad Minute. So at least 4 in this general direction. So
well, that gives an idea.
As I mentioned before, I think you can actually see like roughly shot 5 or 6. I want to say the target falls over, and a lot of my rounds after that, I think we're hitting the dirt slightly below, and that may have been due to some of the charges that I'd created for testing and not being superbly the best. So
yeah, well, I mean it's largely irrelevant for the test anyway.
Right. Yeah. So
all right. Well, thanks once again for doing that run for us. As I said, it was so many people asking, please do the trapdoor, and it's you can get them here, but they kind of at a premium.
Yeah, absolutely.
But, anyway, it's probably better for an American to do it because I would have probably done it wrong or been accused of doing it wrong.
Well, actually, I was a little nervous about it because I was like, well, I'm not using the period cartridge box, and I'm probably not doing a manual of arms in any sort of regulation sense of it. But I was like, I'll give it a try and see how it goes.
Yeah, that's it. Just give it a go. And well, if anyone else thinks they can do better, then by all means,
challenge is on.
That's it. All right. Well, thank you once again, and maybe we'll see you again sometime on the channel. Thanks again for putting your time and ammunition forward for us. Thanks.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you for having me.